What's up, folks? Hello, Dinah Harden. Good to see you. I'm doing very well. What's up, folks? This is Tony Bruin. You're listening to or watching, as the case may be, Cogitations. Cogitations is the podcast where we think about things, we contemplate them, we turn them over in our minds, and when we discuss them. Daniel chapter 7, verse 28, Daniel writes, "Hitherto is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my cogitations much troubled me. My countenance changed in me, but I kept the matter to my heart." We're not going to keep the matter in our heart. We're going to talk about it. Today, we're going to talk about a few things for Free for All Friday. This is Free for All Friday, powered by Christianity Now. This is, Christianity Now Cogitations. We got some brand confusion going on, but that's okay. We're so glad that you're here. Please be sure to like, subscribe, all that good stuff so that our platforms know that we're active. I'm so thankful for the folks that watch on Rumble. We typically get about 40 views average on Rumble. It's pretty cool. Not very much, but it does grow. Anyway, it's been a very eventful, as far as study goes, week. That being said, we're going to have a variety show today. I'm going to talk about eternal sonship. I'm going to talk about argumentation. I'm going to talk about immigration. So let me do this. Right now, I can't see you, rather. But here we go. Wow, I've got a bunch of stuff going on. Todd Clippard put a post out on Facebook: "Until the genocidal lunatics give up their river to the sea ideology, there will never be peace in the Middle East." And my comment to that was, they aren't calling for genocide. That's propaganda. According to the Palestinian ambassador Piers Morgan had on his show. Sorry, that was a lot of P words there. I messed up. Anyway, yeah, I'm telling you, I'm getting very weary of this war in the Middle East. I am to the point where I'm just like, look, as long as there's not one drop of American blood spilled, and as long as there's not one penny of taxpayer money spent, let them destroy themselves. I don't want to mess with it. I'm done. I'm weary. It's fatigue. They're always going to be fighting, and they're telling you exactly who they are and what they want. Just listen to them. Why would you not listen to them? Israel wants to wipe out Palestine. Palestine wants to wipe out Israel. There will be no coexistence. I do not believe. And I don't necessarily think it's Israel's fault. I think Israel's the victim here, but Israel is a victim that is very powerful. And what has happened is the entitled bullies have thrown a fit and punched the quiet kid. And then the quiet kid beat the dickens out of the bully so bad that now the optics appear that the original victim is the wrongdoer. Like, no, there is never a time for balanced response when it comes to aggression. If somebody walks up to you on the street and pushes you, and you have a hammer in their hand, you need to hit them with the hammer in the head as hard as you can, because the next level of their engagement, you don't know what that is. It might not be a hammer. It could be a gun. You don't know what that is, and you don't know how many buddies they have. People don't understand about force doctrine. That's why you pull a Joseph on the street. Everybody wants to go, all these women want to go to self-defense class. Look, you don't need to go, women or men, you don't need to go to self-defense class. You need to go to the track and learn the 40-yard dash. The best defense against violence is not a 40 millimeter. It is not a 40 Smith & Wesson. It is a 40-yard dash. Sorry, I was trying to be clever and screwed it up. Welcome to my world. What's up, Brandon Wild? Good to see you. And I guess I lied because my detractors watching my live stream graphic is up, but I am here in the, I have not left yet to go to my notes. Anyway, I do have some notes. So as we're going through this, I would like for you to comment, to say hello, to tell us where you're from, to ask a question. If you disagree, I really want to hear from you, but I want you to be respectful. The problem is we've had people in, and I'll tell you, it's really kind of sad. But this fella on the Christianity Now Facebook page, here's what I put out. I've read it on the air. Who or what was Jesus whilst on earth? Who is he now? The answer becomes clear by honestly answering these 5 questions. Who was the Word in the beginning with God and identified as God? Who was made flesh and dwelt among us? John 1:14. Who brought grace and truth according to John 1:17? Who currently sits at the right hand of God following the ascension? Is the entity currently in heaven Jesus, the Word, or a different entity? And this fella comments, and he says, John 4:2, John 1:14, so God is a spirit, so on and so forth, and the Word was made flesh. And then he says, yes, until God was going to make man. He didn't need a body. Who was he going to impress? And he spells it E-M-P-R-E-S, so it's a female emperor. He meant I-M-P-R-E-S-S, but I'm just being a little persnickety because I'm somewhat petty. But notice the absurdity of this statement. The Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. So he said that Jesus is the embodiment of God. That is 100% true. But Jesus as God has no time. The sun, moon, and stars are for us to know time. God called Jesus to the beginning of creation. That's not true. That's absolutely false. In fact, not only is it false, it's hyper stupid. It's absurd. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Revelation 1:18, I am he that liveth and was dead. And behold, I am alive evermore. Amen. And have the keys of hell and of death. Nothing in that verse of Revelation 1:18 indicates that Jesus was eternally the Son. We have confused ontology and phenomenology. Ontology is the study of identity, in essence. Phenomenology is the study of reality, the tangible world phenomenon. So when you have a discussion about the identity of God, that's an ontological discussion. If you talk about his nature, his essence, his being, his role. But if you talk about what he does and how he manifests in this realm of existence, or how God manifested in this realm of existence, you're talking about phenomenology. So we've made in this comment a category error. Jesus was not eternal. Jesus is now eternal, just like human beings are eternal. The Son is eternal. The Son is human, and the Son is God. Before God became human, God was only God. God was only spirit, metaphysical. The idea. When you read the word spirit in the Bible, think metaphysical. Don't think Casper the Friendly Ghost. We don't know we don't know how God the Father and God we don't know how the first, second, and third members of the Godhead existed, persisted, subsisted. I need to check my grammar or my vocabulary. Anyway, we don't know how they are in eternity. We have no frame of reference. We have no way of knowing. We can't apply logic to figure it out because our logic is rooted and grounded in this realm of existence. It's how we, from a temporary time, place and time, a time in existence, abstract and understand the intangible, the metaphysical. So here's what I wrote back. This is really good. I mean, I didn't read you everything, so we're not going to just read this dude's comment. It's false. I said, this is really good, and it's not really good. I was just trying to be kind. because I didn't want to immediately start out antagonistic with him. I said, this is really good, and I also want to offer one point of clarity. There is a dogma which affirms the eternal sonship of Jesus. Eternal sonship, and I capitalized it on purpose, is false doctrine. Logically, the word in 1:1 was not Jesus, talking about John. The word is only Jesus from a point about 2,000 years ago until now, and continues to an as of yet unspecified time in the future from our perspective. A lot of folk use Revelation 1:8, and I thought it was 1:18. Anyway, it's 1:8 to teach eternal sonship, but that is the same category error as the folk who deny the deity of Jesus. Thank you for your comment. And it is the same people who deny the deity of Jesus and or the people who deny the deity of Jesus and the people who deny who affirm or assert the eternal sonship of Jesus are both making the same category error. So here's my response. Now I'm curious. Tell me if I was out of line. I address him by name and I say, Paul taught. Well, wait a second. His response, it was to what I just said about like those who deny the deity of Jesus making a categorical error and ignoring John 1:1-17. The word became flesh. Jesus did not become flesh. So we've gone back and forth a time or two, but here's one we'll get to. He said, deny. No, Jesus is God in the flesh. I'm like, nothing I said denied Jesus is God in the flesh. But Jesus was not Jesus in eternity. Jesus was not the Son in eternity. So my response is yes, but the Word was not Jesus, the Son, until the incarnation. The second member of the Godhead was not the Son until the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. Now, that is a truth claim that is boiled down so succinctly. There's no moving parts. There's no fat to trim. It needs no mitigation. It needs no explanation. It can only be denied or affirmed. But there is no explanation. It's like the sky is blue. Explain. We're going to get into that in a moment. Bunch of fools. I think I may have blocked him. It's like people don't know how to talk. Anyway, this guy responded, yes, the Father must precede the Son. The one point you miss is when Jesus died, he went to hell. No, he didn't. Jesus did not go to hell. That's a stupid thing to say. And I know you're not used to hearing people in my position talk like that, but you need to get used to it because we need to be able to leverage language in such a way as to show absurdity, stupidity, and idiocy. Jesus did not go to hell. That's stupid. Jesus went to paradise explicitly. Do you think he stopped off in hell for a minute? Hyper stupid. Terrible interpretation. Doesn't hold water. Anybody that thinks that is functioning at a deficit. If you don't like that, kick rocks. I'm sorry. We have to be able to ridicule ridiculous propositions. Anyway, here it is. The one point you miss is when Jesus died, he went to hell, Revelation 1:15, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned like in a furnace. And his voice is the sound of many waters. Hell, you say? Yes, he was the epitome of sin, not his, but ours. Jesus was sinless, the reason for being born a virgin. The devil had no hold over him. This dude's a Reformed theologist. I don't know if he knows it or not. Anyway, I'm not going to read his foolishness. Here's what I wrote. You have a lot of misconceptions about Jesus. The doctrine of eternal sonship is logically incoherent and biblically impossible. And then sonship requires a beginning. The Word and the Son are not identical in ontology, and confusing ontology and phenomenology creates a category error. False doctrine on this point denies the biblical and logical distinctions that preserve the truth about God's nature. Denying this makes language meaningless and destroys biblical truth. And then I don't understand. He goes, maybe you do. I guess he's saying maybe you do have misconceptions. I don't know. But anyway, he said the first rule is for Christians not to dicker. In that case, we need not to talk. I do not like that. That is pussification. This is a woman I'm speaking to, although his name is Charles. This is feminine energy. This is Karen energy. We don't want this. Be a man. If you're going to come in and you're going to slap me with a glove, when I slap you back with my fist, don't cry foul. Paul taught, study to be quiet, to do your own business, and to work with your own hands, so we can walk honestly in sight of non-Christians. You came in without knowing me, tried to correct, then shifted blame when your point fell apart. That is not quietness or honest conduct. Do not try to correct someone you do not know, and do not accuse someone of being argumentative when you started the argument. I'm not dickering, I'm responding honestly and directly. You are the one who is dickering. You have not engaged honestly with any of the propositions put forward. Until you engage honestly with the actual arguments, every comment you post here will be deleted. If you persist, I will block you. Question: was that too much? Did I do wrong? Because you know he's gone back to some of his buddies like, yeah, that guy, he's so argumentative, he gives Christians a bad name, and he can't take the heat. He needs to get out of the kitchen. What do you think? Do you think I just can't take the heat and get out of the kitchen? All right, let me go to Facebooki, and let me go to my own timeline now, off the Christianity Now page, and I want to go, I want to show you something else that's just crazy. It's like people, Christians especially, they need a 101 level class on how to engage with the world. I just put this post. Whenever I develop content, I get people don't understand how content works and how study works. When you when you study one thing, when you're deep diving one subject, you'll find sometimes 5 or 6 ancillary issues and things that you've never thought of. And so, for instance, I thought it would be cool. I'm like, hey, I've never thought about this. The Word became flesh. Jesus did not become flesh. This is an important distinction. Let me see if I can't remember if I deleted a couple of these comments or not. But anyway, let's do all comments. Yeah, this guy. This dude, I'm not going to tell you his name, but I mean, he's on my timeline. I almost blocked him because of the asinine nature of what he did. It's so entitled. I'm like, I'm not doing homework for you. I don't know you. I don't necessarily like you. I don't necessarily dislike you. With a button, your existence is no longer relevant to my life. You'll never see anything I put out again if I press a button. You won't, I won't trouble you anymore. I love you that much that I can help you and relieve some of your stress so you don't see my content. I don't understand why people are the way they are. Anyway, let me go into my pictures here. I took a screenshot of it because I was going to delete it, and then I was like, no, I want to keep a record of this. Come on, where is it at? I could have swore I took a screenshot of that. Right there. So, again, listen to it. Now, it's Free for All Friday. I want you, well, where's it at? Where's my post? There it is. The Word became flesh. Jesus did not become flesh. This is an important distinction. That is boiled down so much that there's no explanation. But the people that come to the comment section thought I had ulterior motives. They said, well, I don't understand the point you're making. Explain. Which there's no point, folks. Learn how to reason. Learn how to interface with the reality. The Word became flesh. Well, what point are you making? That's not a point. That's an assertion that doesn't even set forth the proposition as true. There's no argument. There's no point being made. The Word became flesh. Jesus did not become flesh. Those are boiled down as low as they'll go. They cannot be simplified anymore. This, which is a vague, demonstrable, I think a pronoun anyway, I don't like using the word this, but I guess this is an important distinction. Is better on Facebook than saying the aforementioned assertions or the truth or not truth of the aforementioned assertions are an important distinction in interpreting the Bible, period. But I just said this is an important distinction because we're not on the formal polemic platform, and I shouldn't have to write propositionally so logically sound in my propositions and be so pedantic. I don't know. Anyway, dude just put in one word in a comment, said explain, ? I don't like this. Now, this guy and I have had some pretty good exchanges, positive exchanges, so I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I said, subscribe on Substack. There will be an article, but it should need no explanation. The OP, the original post, is a true statement that needs no explanation. I thought that was a normal thing to say between two people. Is that not normal? Do I not understand humanity? I'm not angry. I wasn't that's not defensive. What I wanted to say is, I'm not doing your homework. I'm not spoon feeding you. I didn't invite you here. You came. So instead of just putting the one word, explain, like, who do you think you are? You don't own me. And if you wanted to take a little bit of effort, see, you wanted the explanation, but not enough to do any work for it. It's the same. I see people on my timeline. When I see people on my timeline do this, I typically unfollow them, so I never see their stuff again. They'll do something like, I'm visiting Memphis, Tennessee, looking for the best places to eat barbecue and go. No, I'm not doing that. That's a red flag. That shows that you're entitled. Now you may think, well, Tony, that's being silly. No, these micro expressions are important. And I don't know if they're micro expressions. I need to formalize I need to coin a term for it. But I'll give you an idea. If you invite me out to lunch and we're going to be talking about a big project we're going to be doing together and you don't know whether or not you want to work with me yet, when I order my lunch, when I get my food, I always taste it before I salt it. Because I know of some people in some pretty high and mighty places that whenever they take some of their, like, partners, the senior partners in a law firm, especially the managing partner might take a young up-and-comer out to lunch, and sometimes little things matter. Like if you salt your food before you eat it, that tells the person that you are willing to make decisions without having all the proper information. And you can make fun of it. You can roll your eyes. You need to talk to these these high level people that function in the top 1%. That stuff is important. It's kind of like putting the shopping cart back. If I'm out with you in public and you leave a shopping cart and you try to leave a shopping cart anywhere other than a designated cart area, or anywhere other than right beside the front door, because I will give you a pass, then you and I probably will never go out into public again. I'm not going to berate you. I'm not going to talk ill of you, but you're just not somebody with thick enough moral fabric that I want to be around. Because I know how you act in other situations. Because the little things aren't important to you, therefore the big things are not important to you. All right. So this dude just says explain. And I said, subscribe on Substack. There will be an article, but it should need no explanation. The OP is a true statement that needs no explanation. He goes, never mind. I'm like, well, then go kick rocks. I am sorry is what I said. It is a truth claim. It is either true or not true. What would you like me to explain? Anyway, I'm back in the chat now. I can see you. Thank you, Brandon Wild. I've been saved for 4 years now. Excellent. And hello, Terry Crooks. And that is wonderful. Hey, Alabama. And I think your heart was, at the moment, it was out of love or just thumping on him. Brandon, I don't understand what you're saying. If you're telling me I wasn't acting out of love, that's not a good thing. Like that's a terrible accusation. That's actually, you're accusing me of sin. Everything I do is out of love, but it's not the modern day niceness love. It's kind love, kindness, not love. You should not have to. I leaned by God's will by going to church and reading the Bible and going to Bible study. Never mind, Brandon. I'm very sorry. I'm seeing here that there's some issue with. Okay. Hey, Alabama. I put the buggy back. I don't spit my gum out on a parking lot, and I put things back at the store. Did y'all see those balloons? I don't understand what's going on the Rumble. This has happened before. Anyway, you've hit the nail on the head. In fact, there's a Bible verse. Why am I struggling here? He that is faithful in little, dude. It populated Google. Luke 16:10. Whoever is faithful with very little will also be faithful in much, and one who is dishonest in very little will also be dishonest in much. So here's the reason why I think this social media interactions are so important, is because no, Brandon Wild. Yes, I am very sorry, and I realized, and not that boy, this is now I've opened my mouth and inserted my foot where I'm sitting on the sole of my shoe. Brandon, let's just say I'm sorry. And I realized what was at play. I realized that there was some spelling errors there, and I wasn't able to understand what you were saying, but I did get it, and I just didn't make it evident enough that I did. So that's on me, dude. Actually, you know what? No, that's not on either of us. We're going to blame that on communication through typing. So so accept my apology. I didn't. Well, we'll just leave it at that. Anyhow, back to Hey Alabama's comment there. I put the buggy back. I don't spit my gum out in the parking lot, and I put things back at the store. I don't want it later. So here's the reason why this social media stuff is so important, and we don't act a certain way on social media. Because this guy that come in and said, explain, that's very, very little, but that tells me how entitled he is. That tells me how little he respects me. And I know, you cannot take everything personally. So again, I didn't take it personally. I'm just not, but not taking it personally. The opposite of not taking it personally is not, I'm going to acquiesce and let you treat me any way you want to treat me. Christians need to practice healthy boundaries. That's just all there is to it. All right. Thank you very much. Hey, Alabama. There's a good quote. Oh yeah. Sometimes I've misplaced my fingers on the keyboard and sinned before I realized it. You and me both. And yes. So, and true with Brandon Wild, what you were saying, it is the heart. Like, if I could have said the exact same thing to these folks from a place of bitterness and resentment, and it be sinful what I said, but especially now where people have the live stream that they can watch where I'm talking about it, I have no hate in my heart. I don't even have any ill will. I'm not even frustrated. Now, I think being flabbergasted and being frustrated are two different things. And I know that being flabbergasted is probably not a word, but when I say I'm frustrated, like, I don't feel any anxiety. I don't feel the need to do anything. It's just like looking at a puzzle that you can't understand. Flabbergasted. I'm like, I don't get it. So I like to try to understand it. But I want to go back to what Hey Alabama put about putting the buggy back. Don't spit your gum out on the sidewalk. Don't litter. Don't throw a trash out on the side of the road. If you're faithful in the little things, you will be faithful in the big things. But if somebody, that's why people do background checks. I was watching this guy who has a YouTube channel. He's a professional background checker. And of course, because he can't show any names or anything, but as long as you don't show any name, as long as you don't say any names, you haven't violated any laws. So he is showing like, hey, this company here, this person was going after a $500,000 a year job, and he was going to get it, or she was going to get it. But I did their background check. And 10 years ago, in a Facebook group that is not even around anymore, they liked a racist post, or they liked or thumbs up or made a positive comment on something that was highly controversial, and now that person misses out on a $500,000 a year job. And he had applicant after applicant after applicant. I'm telling you, these things are important. These things are important, the little things. We don't realize how important the little things are. If you're faithful in a little, you'll be faithful in a lot. If you're unfaithful in a little, you'll be unfaithful in a lot. If you'll steal the 3-cent piece of candy, you will steal the old lady's life savings. Okay? That's all there is to it. Woo. Let's actually have a formal refutation. So let's talk about the eternal sonship. I'm done griping and ranting and raving. Of course, I don't think I was really ranting and raving. Now, I'm serious now. Even though I've been talking to you while that is up, I can't see you. I'm in another screen. So let's talk about the doctrine of eternal sonship. It's logically incoherent and it's biblically impossible. I've got my outline here. Sonship, by definition, requires a beginning. A son is begotten, which is a point of origin. Begotten is a point of origin. The word has no point of origin. The Son does. In Christ, or if Christ is eternally the Son, the term begotten loses all meaning. It collapses. It collapses under the weight of its own absurdity. If Christ is eternally the Son, the term loses all meaning, collapsing logic and language into nonsense. False doctrine on this point denies biblical and logical distinctions and destroys the truth about God's nature and the incarnation. So again, let's talk about contradiction in terms. A son is one who is begotten. This is ontology, by the way. A son is one who is begotten, which means sonship begins at a different point. A father and a son necessarily cannot be coetaneous or co-evolved. Those two words mean the same thing. It just has the same point in origin. If Christ is eternally the Son, the term begotten is emptied of meaning, language, and logic breakdown. Hebrews 5:5 is a verse in the Bible that refutes. If Hebrews 5:5 was the only verse in the Bible that refutes eternal sonship, it would be enough. Thou art my son. Today I have forgotten thee. The context is in Jesus being the high priest. Jesus is a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek, but he did not glorify himself. The one who said, thou art my son, today I have begotten thee, exalted Jesus. So again, the text identifies a today, all right, when the Son is begotten. Psalm 2:7, I will declare thee, the Lord hath said unto me, thou art my son, this day I have begotten thee. And Acts 13:32-33 links fulfillment of this sonship to the resurrection and historical events. And in fact, that means that somebody I talked to last night, I didn't know for sure. Well, let's just go to Acts 13. I'll just do it in the Bible. I hope he's listening. I hope he does listen to it. Because I thought that the day, like today I've begotten thee, I really thought that that would have been either the day of his conception or the day of his birth. Like he came into existence as the Word of God came into existence in this realm, this plane, the physical realm, at the point of conception, or it could be God is saying, when you were born, I was as a father standing over you saying, today I have begotten thee. So I don't know. Let's go to Acts chapter 13. I'm going to read this 32 through 33. And we declare unto you glad tidings, and how that the promise which was made unto the fathers, God hath fulfilled the same unto us, their children, in that he hath raised up Jesus, as it is also written in the second Psalm. How did I miss that? Good grief. I got to go write a message and say, hey, man, what I said sounded really good, but I was wrong because there was a keystone piece of information, a piece of critical information of which I was unaware. I was ignorant. Well, that's cool. So the Word and the Son are not identical in ontology. That's important. They're not identical in identification, in identity. In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So the Word existed from eternity, is uncreated, and shares fully in God's ontology. John 1:14, and the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. The Word becomes the Son when the Word became flesh. Sonship is a state or role, not an eternal being. The identity Son does not exist until the incarnation. Therefore also that holy thing which shall be born of thee shall be called the Son of God. Luke 1:35, the title Son of God is applied because of incarnation, not eternal status. So we cannot confuse ontology and phenomenology. It creates a category error that makes eternal sonship impossible. God's eternal nature, his ontology, is unchanging and absolute. He simply is. When the Word became flesh, the identity and role of Son came into being. That's phenomenology, the phenomenon of the Son. The Son did not exist before the incarnation. The Word did. Sonship is not an attribute of eternal being, but a state that arises in history, in our history. To call the Son eternal confuses God's eternal being, ontology, with a role or state, phenomenology, that only exists in time. I'm going to read that without the parenthetical. To call the Son eternal confuses God's eternal being with a role or state that only exists in time. Jesus is temporal. Jesus existed temporally, not temporarily, temporally. He existed in time. The Word did not exist in time and currently does not exist in time. Jesus currently does not exist in time. But while Jesus was on earth, he existed in time. While the Word was on earth, incarnate in bodily form, no, he wasn't in bodily form, he was a body. That's a big distinction. If you have questions about that, put them in the comments, and I'd love to expand on it. But Jesus existed whilst on earth in temporal form, in time, in heaven at the right hand of God. He exists outside of time. He's no longer temporal. Anyway, let's just keep to the notes because I'm getting off the subject. But when the fullness of time was come, God sent forth his Son, made of a woman, made under the law. So sonship is tied to being made of a woman and entering into time. There is I can't remember what it was, and I don't have enough. It'd be too weird, too clunky to go look it up. Temporal, hold on a second. There is a term, Temporal. Oh, come on now, Temporal. Temporal. Let's see what it says. Oh, this is Google's AI, by the way. Um, Temporal identity is a term used in developmental biology, particularly in the context of natural or neural development, your brain, to describe how a cell's fate is determined by its position in time within a lineage of dividing cells. This contrasts with spatial identity, which refers to the cell's fate based on its location. This is not good. So, um, let me do this, y'all. I want to get this good. So I want to ask ChatGPT. Now there. Now I'm back. I don't know what that was. But anyway, so let's see. Let's see what we've come up with. Yeah, temporal. No, not temporal prediction, but Kyle Budd often refers to this in his writings, assigning a current relational property. Listen, we're going to open Substack, and I'm just going to go and find that term because this is my show and I got enough time to do it. All right. Let's go to the reader. All right, what does it play here? Progression from indefiniteness to specification, identification of the word as Christ, rejection of abstraction and personification, formal structure of the argument. Oh, well, I'm not going to get it. But anyway, we understand that whenever I show a picture of a 16-year-old girl and I say, this is my wife, I'm not lying, because that's what I'm showing a picture of, my wife. That is why eternal sonship is so difficult for people, because we take what is written and we don't apply the same rules for language and communication. Anyway, logic and language, as well as the biblical text, demand sonship is not eternal. So sonship is tied to being made a woman and entering into time. So, but when the fullness of time was come, God sent forth his son made of a woman. The person that was sent forth was not God's son at the time. That's like me saying, I walked into the UT Martin Student Center in 1998 and I met my wife. My wife moved from Munford, Tennessee, just outside of Memphis, to Martin, Tennessee when she was 18 years old. She was not my wife when she moved, but she's my wife now. That's what's at play here. So excuse me. Let's go back. Logic and language. If the Son is eternal, then the meaning of begotten is lost and words no longer communicate truth. The Bible does not teach an eternally begotten Son. The Son was begotten at a specific point in time. There is no eternal begetting. To affirm eternal sonship is to destroy the meaning of language and the distinction between being and role. Additional irrefutable passages that collapse if the eternal sonship were true. Well, Luke 1:35 and Galatians 4:4, as above, both place sonship at incarnation, not eternity. Both of these place sonship at incarnation, not eternity. All right, now, hold on, where are we at? I've lost my notes. My notes jumped. Eternal sonship. False doctrine that must be rejected. Christ is eternal as the Word, not as the Son. The doctrine of eternal sonship destroys meaning in both language and Scripture. It confuses being and role and is biblically and logically impossible. So, Galatians 13, or Acts chapter 13, 32 through 33, and we declare unto you glad tidings, how that the promise which was made unto the fathers, God hath fulfilled the same unto us, their children, in that he hath raised up Jesus from the dead, or raised up Jesus again, as it is also written in the second Psalm, Thou art my son, today I have begotten thee. That tells you the verse. That tells you what that means. Jesus became the Son, the begotten Son. Like, this is my beloved Son in whom we're pleased. Hear ye him. He was the Son whenever he was born, whenever he was conceived and born, but he took on a whole new role of sonship whenever he was resurrected from the dead, evidently. I'm going to have to study this more. I've never thought about this. In Galatians 4:4, but when the fullness of time was come, God sent forth his Son, made of a woman under the law. Is there any room to think that Jesus was eternally the Son? I don't know. I don't think so. Now, I can't believe we've got 11 people in the live stream. That is amazing. Thank you so very much. You know what? I think I want to leave this up. I just like it. It makes me feel all warm and cuddly. Let's talk about this immigration deal for a moment. I've listened to some stuff. It's very interesting, the craziness that's out there and the misconception, the illogicalness of the conversation, the absurdity of the conversations surrounding it. Look, here's the law. If you come into a nation, red, yellow, black, and white, it doesn't matter. If you're not a citizen of that nation and you come in in a way that's illegal, like you cross the border illegally under the cover of darkness, or you come in on a student visa or a work visa and you just let it expire. Well, it doesn't matter how long you're in the country. You have to be deported. Now, what a country can do is they can say, we know that this has been a problem and we haven't addressed it as a nation because we've had one side of our political party wanting to open the borders and want to replace white people in the United States. That's what they do. That's what they're doing. They're telling you what they want to do. They want to make the United States of America a majority black and brown nation. They do not want the United States of America to be a majority white nation. They're telling you this. They're telling you this. If you come at me privately or publicly and call me a racist and this, that, and the other, I'm just going to block you. I do not care to discuss this. This is a posteriori. No, this is a priori. It's an observation after the fact. Is that right? A-P-R-I-O-R-I-E versus A-P-O-S-T. All right. A priori refers to knowledge or reasoning that comes before the experience. So this is a posteriori. A posteriori refers to knowledge or reasoning that comes after the experience, meaning it's based on observation and empirical evidence. Whenever somebody makes a proposition like this, I believe that Jesus is the Son of God, that's a self-supporting statement because it's what I believe. And then you now know that I believe that Jesus is the Son of God, so you can say Tony believes that Jesus is the Son of God. That's an a posteriori. You have experienced me. You didn't have to look at you didn't have to deduce. Okay. Now you can look at my actions in the world and you can experience my actions. You can say, that's not a son of God. That's not a son of God. Like, you can talk about the ontology from the phenomenology and say that because of his actions, he's not a son of God. But what you cannot do is you cannot say he doesn't believe he's a son of God. When it comes to all of this stuff, when it comes to what these leftists are telling you, please believe them. Please. They are telling you they want to replace white people, especially white Christian males, because white Christian males are the backbone of a society. Without white Christian males, you don't have a nation. Period. Not in the United States of America. People can cry foul all they want at that, but I'm done with people trying to make me feel ashamed of my skin color. I don't care about your skin color. I care about your actions. I'm with Martin Luther King on this. Dr. King said we want the content of character. We want to be judged by the content of character, not the color of skin. So all the people who are in inferior cultures need to rise up to the level of Western culture. Now, what people heard when I say that is that whiteness is supreme. No, whiteness is not supreme any more than blackness is supreme. Culture built on Judeo-Christian values is supreme. Red, yellow, black, and white. That's why America was so successful. Because if you were part of the right culture, you could succeed. That means you had to show up to work on time. You had to get a haircut. You had to keep your pants up around your waist, your shirt tucked in. You had to be somewhat groomed and presentable. God knows that ain't me. I wouldn't have, if I wanted to succeed back in the 1980s, 70s, 60s, 50s, I couldn't look like this. You know what I would do? I'd look way different. I'd shave. It's just crazy. Now, again, the Smithsonian Institute talks about the Democrats believe that that whites are supreme. The Democrats believe that. In the Smithsonian Institute, I think it's the Smithsonian Institute, they have this section about white culture. And what is white culture? They say it's coming to work on time, being well groomed, preparing for the future, all of this stuff that Jesus demands you to be. They say that's white culture. When I say they, I'm Democrats, leftist. Lie to me and tell me I'm wrong. So I'm tired of this conversation. This is what Donald Trump has done with this last executive order, because people are saying, Donald Trump blinked. Donald Trump. No. Donald Trump is a 1992 liberal from New York. Of course he wants immigrants in here. Do you remember in the 80s and the 90s, you had the migrant workers? We used to have a migrant worker class in the United States. They would come up from Mexico. They would come over, they would fly over, whatever, and they would stay for the season legally and work like dogs and send 90% of their money back home. And then they would leave and go back home peacefully. And then they would come back, and they appreciate. There was a Mexican that we had working on the apple farm for I think it was like 2 years. That dude was amazing. I loved that man. He was my first introduction to Mexican food, to salsa. I remember the first time I shared a joke with an adult, just adult period, It was that man, and we called him Jose. I believe gambling is a sin, but if you wanted to bet $1 to a donut, I'd bet you. No, if you wanted to bet $100 to a donut, I bet you that wasn't his real name. But he said, just call me Jose. Jose made me some salsa one day. I was probably about 10 years old. Jose made me some salsa, and he said, you said you like salsa. It's good. This is better than pace. I love pace pecani sauce. And my granddaddy said, is it hot? He goes, yeah, it's a little hot. And he said, it'll make your engine run hot, meaning it'll give you heartburn. And then I said, it'll give you a hot exhaust pipe too. And they laughed. And for a moment, I was like an adult. And I remember it felt so good and I felt so seen. It's not about prejudice against races. If Jose wanted to move to the United States and work on the apple farm and live forever until he died, he would have to come a different way. As it was, he was on a migrant visa. We used to have migrant visas. You don't have to assimilate into the culture if you just come and work and help out during the farm season. You don't have to assimilate into the culture if you just come during show season for the horse trade and you help then. And you can send tens of thousands of dollars back home to a nation where the median income is like $1,000 a year. It's crazy. That's hyperbolic. Don't fact check me on that. It's false. But you understand what I mean. People tell me all the time, immigrants here, oh man, if you ought to go live in the Philippines, you could go yeah, I could. But what's the culture like there? It's pathetic. It's a terrible culture. I've seen it. I can see the videos. The cultures of these other nations are not enlightened and up to the same level as culture built on Judeo-Christian values. And the Democrats are looking you in the eye and saying, we want to replace white people with brown people. They're the racist. We're like, we want all people, red, yellow, black, and white. We don't care about your skin color. We don't care your nation of nativity. We want you to be here, and we want you to buy into the American dream, the American culture. Work hard, show up to work on time, prepare for the future, rear your children to do the same. Love God first, country, love God, family, country, in that order probably. What's wrong with that? But the Democrats hijack the racist, sexist, biggest, homophobe, LGBTQ, Black Lives Matter, the Mexican stuff. They hijack all of that because a nation that is divided cannot stand. The leftists, the Democrats are looking you in the eye and telling you what they want, and they are telling you that white culture is superior. Black people and brown people cannot function in a society where the culture is predominantly white because they cannot live the way white people live. That is the message of the KKK, folks. That is the message of Nazi Hitler, white supremacist, Aryan blood, all of that good stuff. They are telling black people and brown people that you ain't as good as white people, so we're going to hamstring the white people. And I'm tired of pretending that it's not true. And again, you come in the comment section, come at me privately talking to me about you're racist, bigot, sexist, homophobe. I'm just going to look at you and laugh and block you. You have self-identified as someone I don't have to take seriously. Here's the thing. Vodi Balcom talks about, and he's an ecumenical pastor. I don't put my stamp of approval on him, but he talks a whole lot about this, the Bible, and the modern political age, and the Marxist socialism, and critical race theory, and all that. It's just a way to divide people and and keep people down. That's all it is. It's the height of foolishness, and I guess I got it off my chest. Anyway, and Hey Alabama, you ain't wrong about that. And Hey Alabama also says, I don't understand the tattoos and the piercings on and around the face. Looking like a tackle box isn't cool. It just isn't. Same for the large holes in the ears and the cheeks. Absolutely. And again, if that's your culture, that's fine. And even those, again, if that's your culture, that's fine. But here's what you're going to have a problem with. Talking about if you're faithful in little things, you're going to be faithful in big things. When you see somebody with a tattoo, when you see somebody with body modifications, that person is not mentally healthy. Now, you may be thinking, well, Tony, I've got tattoos and body modifications. Yeah, you're not mentally healthy. Sorry. You're just not. It's the same principle as putting the shopping cart back up or spitting your gum on the sidewalk or leaving a door open when you walk through it. It's the little things, putting salt on your food before you taste it. It's the little things. All of these things communicate stuff that you don't realize. And that's the deal. All right. And so if you want to live in this culture and you want to succeed, you're going to have to assimilate just a little bit. And don't be so crazy. Now look, this is something you need to learn. I don't agree with Donald Trump that we ought to say, well, if you came here and you've been on a farm for 20 or 30 years and you've reared children in the United States and you've been a productive member of this society, but you came here illegally, I think you ought to have to be kicked out on general principle. Maybe you and your entire family, like if you've been here for 60 years, like if you were brought across if you were brought across the border in 1977 at 1 year old, you're not a citizen. And so if you rear children in the United States and you have 3 or 4 kids and every one of them are doctors and lawyers and upstanding members of society, but you were the illegal one, I think you and every descendant alive needs to go back to your nation of nativity. Aren't you glad I'm not in charge? Donald Trump is saying, if you came here before the Biden administration and you were working the fields and stuff like that, and all you were doing was just, this is the system and this is how we do it, we can have a system in place where we can vet you and we can make a ruling case by case where we can allow you to stay for a while. What Donald Trump is doing with his executive order that he's talking about, he's putting a stopgap measure in place that protects people from the chaos of destroying a system. Even though the system is corrupt, it doesn't function well, it's detrimental, it would be worse completely destroying it. So he says, we're going to focus on these 500,000, these million, however, nobody knows how many it is, that came through during the Biden-Harris administration, whenever they just opened the gates and says, come on. Do you understand how many electoral votes California has because they count illegal immigrants in the census? Just think about that. Why do you think they're fighting so hard to keep them? So if we snapped our finger, like we had a Thanos snap, and all people in the United States that are not currently legal were just teleported back to their country of nativity, it would be utter chaos. Like, we understand that. That's reality. I'm thinking the juice is worth the squeeze. I think a sharp knife cuts quickest and hurts the least. Again, aren't you glad I'm not in charge? But what Donald Trump, the president, said, ooh, if we do that, it's going to be chaos. The optics are going to be terrible. Let's focus on these military-aged men who came in the last 4 years. I think that's a good way to do. Anyway, I hope I've said something that offended you today. That's just kind of the mood I'm in, because offense brings change. If you have a herd of cattle in a pasture that's got a bunch of green grass, it's awful hard to move them into another pasture. You can't just open the gate. You got to put a little pressure. You got to make it less comfortable to be in this pasture than it is to go through that gate and be in that pasture. I hope I've offended you in some way, because if I've offended you, it means you're thinking. And that's all I've got for today. I also hope I've said something that helps you along on your journey to eternity. We all want to make heaven, and I want to be in heaven with you. Remember, if you're a detractor, if you hate my guts and you're watching this live stream or you're watching it after the fact, that's what you look like. Don't do that. Let it go. Go talk to somebody and heal. I said something the other day from the pulpit that one of the members thought that I was talking about somebody that they knew, and I laughed. I was like, no, I'm sorry. I wasn't even somebody that did us wrong together. And I was like, no, I wasn't even thinking about that. I said, I find it odd how little I think about the people that have done me wrong in the past anymore. Now, there are some things that I'll still, like if I'm preaching a lesson or if I'm doing a live stream or a piece of content, I will reference things. But that's not the same as like sitting with it and like working yourself up over it. I don't know, just build a snowman, let it go. And that's all I've got. We're going to end. God bless every one of you. This has been Tony for Free for All Friday. I pray this was okay as far as entertaining goes. I pray it was informative. And I hope that as you go along on your journey to eternity, you continue to walk in the light as he is in the light, so that you can have fellowship one with another. And the blood of Jesus, his son, will cleanse you from all sin. And on that day, you will hear, well done, good and faithful servant. And if I don't know you here on earth, I hope you look me up in heaven. Like, subscribe, and share. Support. We need your support. I just love the crowd that we have today. It was a good crowd. Y'all weren't very talkative, but there was a bunch of you. So God bless you. And we'll keep you, or we'll catch you on the flip side.